Hey folks, this is Chef Kevin, and I'm out here in my backyard in Jamesville, Virginia, and I'm picking some peppers for my next recipe. What I'm going to be making today is a Middle East inspired wrap. Now I say Middle East inspired because it has Middle East spices like cardamon, coriander seeds, and this is going to be a real nice meal. I have the chicken marinating in a yogurt-based marinade, and then I'm going to cook it over the grill. Watch how I do. The first thing I'm going to do is make the marinade. So I have one large piece of garlic here, a clove of garlic, I should say. And I'm only using this one piece because it was big. It's not the regular garlic. This was a piece of hard neck garlic that I grew in my garden. If you're not using hard neck, then you can use several smaller pieces. Now I'm juicing a lemon, and that's an important ingredient in this marinade. I got about 1.5 ounces of fresh lemon juice out of this lemon. And what I'm going to do is add that to the chopped garlic. And then I'm going to take a burr mixer and grind it up. You can do this in a mini food processor as well, although I don't think it'll work in a regular large food processor because there's just too little material in there to chop up. Maybe I'm wrong though. But I thought this was just as easy, and then I don't have to clean up that whole food processor. So I'm grinding this up a bit. This is basically an electric motor that has one small but very sharp blade that's encased in the shroud. It's a good thing to have around the house. Here I have my yogurt. This is one container, and that's about 5.5 ounces of yogurt. But I actually added a little bit more because it was too thin at the end. So I added about a total of about a cup, 8 ounces. Worked out well. Putting in a tablespoon of olive oil. That'll make it a nice rich taste. And I have some sea salt. I'm going to add about a teaspoon, maybe 1.5 teaspoons of sea salt. Next thing is the black pepper. And I added about a teaspoon of black pepper. That is my ground coriander seeds. And I put about 1 teaspoon in there. You don't need a lot. This is a pretty powerful herb. And now for some coriander seed. Cardamon. About 1/2 teaspoon of cardamon. That's used a lot in Indian cooking. And I have some Italian seasoning here. And that's a combination of thyme, oregano, parsley. About 1 teaspoon full of that as well. Going to add a little apple cider vinegar. That'll add some acid, a little bite, if you will, to the marinade. Not much, tablespoonful. tomato paste, a good 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. That'll add some richness and some color. And how about some fresh ginger? About a teaspoonful. Ginger and garlic are very healthy vegetables. They almost have medicinal properties. They've been used by different cultures for hundreds of years, if not more. Back to the burr mixer. I'm going to make this nice and smooth. Get any chunks out of there. That looks about good enough, I'd say. Okay, time to prep the chicken. I have 2 large boneless, skinless chicken breasts. Now I'm cutting that with the grain lengthwise, as you can see. And then I'm cutting it against the grain. I'm trying to get equal-sized pieces, about 1 inch or so wide. This way they all cook relatively at the same time. Now the yogurt has enzymes in it that help break down the chicken. And it'll make it nice and tender and juicy. So once again, cutting it with the grain, and then I'm going to cut it against the grain, 1 inch pieces or so. Now I'm going to let this marinate in the fridge 3 to 4 hours. 3 hours minimum. You can go 3 to 6, 3 to 8. Take that little gristle thing off there. Done. Now I'm going to take the marinade and pour it directly onto the chicken. That was just about the perfect amount of marinade. Just scrape it out a little bit. Mix it up. Cover it up, and then in the fridge 3 to 4 hours. I'm kind of under the gun here because there's a thunderstorm moving into the area. So hopefully I can dodge the storm. Otherwise, I'll have to cook this in my broiler, which I don't really want to do because I'll have more flavor in the grill. So here's my veg prep. I have a nice orange pepper here. Now some of it was actually bruised. I didn't do a good job checking it. You should always check very carefully. It wasn't rotted, but someone probably dropped it. So I'm just cutting off the discolored portions. And I'm also cutting out that white web that could have bitter taste to it. Trying to make this nice and colorful. Colorful food is always more attractive. And chances are, if it looks good, it's going to taste good. We eat with our eyes first. A nice red bell pepper. And again, I'm trying to cut them into the same size pieces so they all cook relatively at the same time. Going to save the top and use that as well. No sense in throwing that out. Got that white vein out of there. Now I also have some nice white button mushrooms, and I'm just going to take the stem off of those. The stems are rather dried out. That one had no stem. All right, now for the onion. Now I went with a red onion. Again, color. I could have used a regular yellow onion, but I didn't want to do that. So I basically just quartered the onion, taking the skin off, and then I'm going to break it down into 2 or 3 petals or leaves at the same time. Okay, the next thing to do is to actually build the kebab. Now that marinade had no stuff in it that is not good for you, so no sugar, no starch or no high fructose corn syrup. All good stuff. That's my metal skewer that I'm going to be using. I have some wood skewers. You can buy these at the supermarket, but the ones I had were too small. So I'm going to go ahead and use these metal ones. So here I'm going to build a kebab. Start out with a piece of onion, followed by a piece of chicken. Now you can build these any way you want. There's no real science to this at all. So there goes a mushroom. Who doesn't like grilled mushrooms? Another piece of chicken, followed by a piece of orange pepper, an onion, another piece of chicken. The important thing to remember, though, is not to compress it too much, because then it won't cook as thoroughly. So you want to make it fairly loose. There's my 4 kebabs. I didn't want to bore you with me showing you how to do the other 3. So this is my setup here for kebabs. This is my no frills Weber barbecue. I took the grill off and put 2 steel bars across the barbecue, and this way the kebabs won't stick to the grill. And what I'll do is I'll turn them every couple of minutes or so they cook evenly. And here they are, fully cooked. And that took about 12 minutes or so. They look nice. They have a nice char to them, a lot of color to them. So let's build this wrap. What I'm using is a large size tortilla. Now you can use a piece of pita bread, but the pita bread was a little too thick for me. I don't want to fill up on the pita bread. And that's the homemade garlic aioli that I made. And I'll reference that at the end of this video. I'm adding some lettuce. That'll make it a little healthier and provide a little bit of nice crunch to it. So I'm trying to roll it up without everything falling out. Something like that. Your kebab is served. Now, I thought this really came out nice. There's tons of flavor in here. The lettuce gave it a nice crunch. And this is a pretty healthy meal. There's nothing really fatty in here. Nothing bad. I recently been diagnosed as pre-diabetic, so I'm trying to eat more healthy food. I need a little bit more garlic aioli. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, well, throw me a friggin' bone here.
Throw me a frickin' bone here.